we should probably treat artists more like athletes,
Right.
where, we should maintain sort of that, yes, we have this expectation. No, we're not expecting you to just pummel yourself into the ground, but we don't expect you to just sit there and stagnate and kind of wallow.
Hello, and welcome to Behind the Slate, where I sit down with fellow voice actors and other industry artists to have a fireside chat. I'm your host, Christian O'Boyle. If you'd like to know more about me, please check out my website at christianoboyle.com. In this episode, I'll be talking with Sarah Ruth Thomas, a Texan voice actor, singer, and acting coach. She has worked on radio and television commercials, educational videos, as well as audio dramas, such as The Grey Rooms, The Beacon, Copper Heart, and Cyberscape Neo. She has also worked in several video games, including Magic Warrior Diamond Heart, Stargirls, Welcome to the Dreamscape, and the upcoming game, The Forgotten City. 20 minutes sounds like enough time, but when you was like, I have to set this, do that, I was like, 20 minutes is not enough time.
No,
No,
no.
not at
And
all.
it's always like in those minutes whenever the call is dialing that your brain starts exploding going, wait, no.
I'm not ready for this.
I can remember because when I did Crispin Freeman's workshop back in April, and I
Right,
can remember like I was set. I had all these like alarms set so that no matter what, like if I was outside walking my dog, I'd have plenty of time to get back inside. And I
right.
had my notebook and I had my water bottle. And like while we are waiting for Crispin to join the call, I'm going, I'm not ready for this. I'm not. Wait. Oh
What did I
gosh,
forget?
no. Stop. Oh yeah, full freak out. Full
That's
freak out.
awesome. Well, how do you find that the Crispin Freeman workshop did that help you?
I really enjoyed it. And when did you take his workshop?
Uh
Like just a couple months ago?
yeah,
Okay.
September, no, or
Um,
before September.
I really enjoyed it. And luckily I'm still new enough in the voice acting game that I'm trying to use the same notebook for like all of the classes I'm taking.
Yeah.
So all of my notes are still in the same notebook from like
Oh, that's
April to
awesome.
today. And so I still flip back to it. But I definitely it was really encouraging just due to the fact that a lot of the acting things he mentioned were things that I've not necessarily been taught, but kind of things that I have come to the realization of because he talked a
Mhm.
lot about um, the what is it, the interpretation angel and the technicality demon that are on
Right,
your shoulder, which
right.
I mean, it's definitely something that I've been like, oh, well, I have to enunciate like this, and I have to have this sort of diction, and I have to carry myself like this. And that's also like, oh, but to get into character, I have to do all the things that are terrible. Oh my gosh, what do I do?
Too much stuff.
Exactly. I'm at war with myself. So he talked
Right.
about that, which was great. Um, and then I had always thought about, what is sort of the emotion driving the scene and everything. But he talked about, the $1 million question, which is what is the emotional response you're wanting from your scene partner?
Right. Right.
And that was very eye opening. I was going, oh my gosh.
That gets me every time. He goes,
Yeah.
What do you want?" I was like, "I don't know."
Yeah. And I can remember in my scenes, what characters did he have you read?
I did Linguini from Ratatouille,
Uh,
and I did a private session with him, so I did
oh,
Linguini.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
So actually I did Milo from, Atlantis,
I love Milo.
and then I did another character, I forgot what it was from, and I forgot the character's name. Oh,
That's
Aaron.
okay.
It was Aaron from, like, Dragon Tale, or not Dragon Tales, but, Tales, Earthsea.
Tales from Earthsea?
Something
Tales
like,
from Earthsea?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Okay, okay.
So those were my 2
Uh,
characters, and then I did, Linguini for our private session and Shang from Mulan.
ah,
I
good
was
ones,
not I
good
was
ones.
not good at Shang.
I really wanna do a private session because I only did the workshop, but I
Mm,
would love to work up to a private session with
it is
him.
I think it's having him being able to listen to you for an hour,
Mhm.
yeah, is fantastic because he can really get into why you do what you do. Um,
That's awesome, and I
it was
think
yeah,
I think that's something I'll save up for sure.
mhm,
Just because I mean, and I was very impressed in the workshop with just how much he was able to devote to each student. And I had a lot of fun watching the other
yeah,
excuse me, watching the other students get notes from him, because he did bring up the fact of like, hey, pay attention to everybody else in here, because
Mhm.
you might be thinking, oh, I don't do that, or da, da, and he's like, guess what, you probably do.
You probably do
So
if
that was
you
a lot of fun.
notice it.
Yeah, but anyway, back to the original, the like, what emotional response are you trying to get
Mhm, mhm.
from them? uh I can remember in one of the scenes that I did, I was reading Hogarth's mom from The Iron Giant.
Yes, yes,
I was reading
mhm,
Annie, and I did the first read, which of course, I'm just like, oh, I just nailed that. That was great. That was wonderful.
right.
And he's sitting there, he's going, very, very thoughtfully, and I'm just going, oh gosh. And we start sort of dissecting that scene, and he's asking me, well, what are you wanting him to say back to you? Because the first time it's when she's in the diner, and the second time it's when she's looking for him. So it goes from
Right,
like she's very frazzled over in the diner working, to like she's worried because she can't find him. And
right.
so every time he would ask me like, what is the emotional response you're wanting from Hogarth, I was just going, oh well, I want him to understand how worried I am and all this sort of stuff. So it was very my character focused, rather than, no,
What
wait, what are you wanting him to say in
what do you
response?
want him to feel? And you're like, "I I don't know.
And it was,
I haven't approached it that way."
yeah, and that was huge, just because we spent all this time talking about the fact of like, that's why scenes continue, because you want this certain reaction, and very rarely do you actually get that reaction.
Right.
So that's why scenes continue. And I was just going, mind blown, like, what is this?
Yeah, one of the things when I was working with him, I would do a read, and he goes, "That was good." He goes and then he would do his questions, and he goes, "Do it again." And I would do it, like, several times, like, almost, like, sentence at a time, and eventually I did the full read the second time. He goes, "Alright, now do that the first time, and you're good." I was like, "Okay."
What did I just do?
I was like, "What did I do?
What is this? What are we talking
How
about?
do we do this the first time? Because I never can do this the first time."
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
how do I get that into my brain?
And I worked with Mark Cashman and, for commercials, and it was very similar. He goes, "Alright, well, let's do your read, and let's break it down. Where are you? Who you speaking to? Things like that." And then he goes, "All right, well, he goes, "It seems like you're talking to this." He goes, "Try talking to them." I was like, "Okay." So when you're doing a commercial and you feel like you're talking to everyone, kind of think you're at a convention like a TED Talk. So you're not talking to like the radio, you're talking to people because you're at a convention explaining a situation to them. And you're like, "Oh, that makes so much more sense." And then he did the whole like, "All right, now do your second read as your first read and you're good." And I was like, "Dang it."
Dadgummit!
I
Dadgummit!
I
Yeah.
thought I had it. No,
I was I was so convinced. I was so convinced, and
right?
I have long since learned and long since broken myself of the idea that I am a first take wonder.
Right, right. It's
I mean,
very humbling.
I like to keep my first take, because I'll read through a script and I'll record myself reading through it, just make sure that I'm not going to trip up over any words, or
Mhm.
like, I don't know if you ever do this. I'll start reading through a sentence, and then like halfway through it realize it's a question. I'm like, oh wait,
Yep,
never
yep, yep.
mind.
Always.
Yeah. So I'll get those out of the way. And so like after I have like my copy that I think I'm really happy with this. And then I'll listen to that first take. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, much better. Much better.
Now, do you feel that when you took a class with Crispin or maybe any other, coaches, do you feel that you have learned from that to then apply to when you do coaching as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There are a lot of things that I've carried over from what I've learned from Crispin Freeman, what I've learned from Andy Field, what I've learned from Chuck Huber. And actually, I'm doing Chuck Huber's
Hmm,
master class right now, but he would step into Andy Field's business class a lot.
right.
Um, and Chuck is very good with sort of the actor's mindset and the competitive mentality of just how to take care of yourself and your mental state while you're trying to become a character and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So I do carry a lot of that into my coaching sessions, because I think one of the big things I'm seeing a lot whenever people approach me like, hey, I want to work on ABCD, one of those is generally, I want to create convincing characters.
Right.
And I think a lot of creating those convincing characters is talking about, how do you become that character? Is this just it's not just, oh, I'm going to play pretend and put on a costume and suddenly I'm that character. It's no, you have to find the similarities and the commonalities. And Crispin phrased it as in, you're not just doing a sock puppet, you are trying to become that character.
Right.
So I definitely, there's a ton I've picked up from them that I'm like, I can tell somebody else this, and maybe in different phrasing, but it is definitely very applicable, and very eye-opening.
Right. One of the things that I was asked is where do you get your inspiration for your acting? And I was like, what? He goes, all right, well, when you're taking on a scene, how do you approach the scene? How do you address it? And I was like, I I don't know. He goes, well, it kind of helps if you know where you're acting from. It's like, okay, well, I envision the scene. I envision as if I'm in that scene, like at a park by the river type thing. He goes, good. So you immerse yourself into the visual of it. And I was like, yeah. He goes, good. Now we need to solidify that more because he goes, you see that you're wet, or there's a bench and a river, but you just fell in the river. Now you're cold and you're sitting on the bench. How do you do that? I was like, oh. He goes, don't think of the bench and the river, put it all together. I was like, mm-hmm. And he goes, now when you read the full script, he goes, did you read the full script? I was like, I read my parts. He goes, mm-mm. He goes, read everything. There's reasons why those texts are there explaining the scene. So you know the scene. I was like, okay.
Yeah. One of those moments where you're just like, I should have known better. And even when I was reading my part, I knew that I should be reading everybody else's. I was like, quick, where's my line?
Reading that.
Where's my line?
Right.
What's happening?
Everyone's thinking about what is my part? And it's like, what is everyone's part? What
Yeah.
makes the entire scene a scene? And you're like, yep, makes sense now.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you mean that I am not what this whole thing is about? Side note, you are very good at mimicking his speech patterns. You were very good at mimicking it. Like when you were kind of quoting him, I was like, that's exactly how he would say it too. You have his pattern, his phraseology. It's really nice.
Thank you.
But no, I definitely agree. Like with finding the inspiration, that is, or at least creating those scenes. That is something that I try to convey to a lot of my students. Is you're not just acting with your voice, you are acting with your body. It's just we're not going to see your body, we're going to see the character's body most likely. Or if it's an audio drama, we're going to hear the sound effects. But still, like whatever they're doing, put that into your own physicality. Plus it carries over so much better. You will have such your takes will be so much more convincing if we can hear not the actor reading lines, but the actor immersing themselves in it.
So true. That is so true. Now you just did a demo at Sound Cadence.
Yeah. I just on my birthday on the 28th, I recorded my character demo, and then on the 5th, was Tuesday the 5th? I think so. Whatever Tuesday was, on Tuesday I recorded my commercial demo, because I just wanted to go ahead and get those out of the way. I'd saved up my money for them. I had started talking to some people that I look up to and I'm learning from a lot in the voice acting community. And I was saying, oh yeah, I'm getting my new character demo created and I want to start looking at some agencies and I'm really excited. And they're like, that's great. You need a commercial demo.
Yes.
And so I went, oh, okay, so I need both, because I was just going to send my character demo to these agencies and they're like, that's nice, but don't send the character demo unless they ask for it. You need the commercial demo too. And I went, oh, okay, good heads up.
Right.
And I went ahead and I went to Sound Cadence just with the idea of just doing the character demo. And then like 3 days before, I was informed about the need of a commercial demo. And I'd been working on a commercial demo for a while, but things kept happening and interfering with it to where I was going, this is probably not going to get done with this team that I'm working with. There's enough going on their end.
Right.
So when I was done with the character demo, Amber Lee Connors was my director for that. And we had a really fun time working. She's a great director. And she said, yeah, I'm the one who writes the commercial reels. And now that I know what your voice sounds like, we can talk about like products that you like and that sort of stuff. And we can go ahead and crank out a commercial demo for you. And I was like, yes, absolutely. I'll be back in a week. Let's do it. Let's just get it over with.
Let's go. That is awesome.
We can get this over with.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited. I can't wait for those to come in and to
I'm
share.
excited to hear them. I really am.
Good, that makes both of us.
What was
I
that?
can hardly state it.
What was the experience like?
Oh, it was so cool. It was so cool. So uh, also Amber was fantastic to work with just because she is very good at responding to emails.
Mhm.
Very good. I am one of those people who are like, I don't need you to respond like within 5 minutes after I've sent you an email, but if you respond within a 24-hour window, I'm happy.
Of
I just
course.
want to make sure that like we're on the same track.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and she was also very kind in the sense that we had originally scheduled my commercial demo to be recorded on this previous Monday.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but when I was leaving New Orleans, my keys went missing.
I
And
heard about
it
that.
was, yeah, it was not through any partying or anything. We were staying at the host house, and my friend and I went to go run a few errands before I was going to hit the road. And when we came back, I looked at the kitchen table where I'd set my keys, and it was kind of like those old cartoon moments where they like do like the dotted line, and all of a sudden there's like that flash where something used to be and it's not there anymore. And they were gone. The keys were gone.
Oh
You know what I'm
no.
talking about. And my friend and I tore through that house, and we texted both of our hostesses. We were like, hey, did you see these keys? There's a polar bear keychain. Have you seen them? And they had not seen them.
Oh no.
And so Amber was great because I emailed her. I was like, hey, Amber, I'm kind of stranded right now. So I'm not going to make our session tomorrow morning. Is there any way we can move it? And she was so sweet. She was like, absolutely. I hope everything's okay. Just let me know when's good for you. And we'll keep you on the books. We'll keep you a spot available for you. And luckily
That's
did.
awesome.
Yeah. So she was wonderful. And luckily somebody had accidentally grabbed my keys by mistake. I have one of those like pattern keys, and they were like, oh yeah, that's my friend's keys. I'll take them back to her, and then realized that they were mine. So
Oh.
crisis averted, went back. I'm sorry, I'm totally rambling.
No, no, that's totally fine.
But no, so Amber was really, really accommodating and very understanding. Um, Gave very clear direction, and also it was really nice because for both the character demo and the commercial demo, the script would be up, and I was working in a whisper room, which was my first time working in a whisper room, and
Yeah.
so that was real fun. That moment where you close the door behind you, you just kind of hear that vacuum seal. It reminded me of college, like going back to the practice rooms in the music department.
Oh yes.
But like you just hear that vacuum seal, and you're like, all right, it's just me in here.
It's so
And yeah, it's just okay. And my water bottle's really loud. uh, but she was great because like the script would be up there, and it would say, like princess, or monster, or for the commercials it would say like beauty product or something like that.
Mhm.
And she would just go, just read this, give it a couple takes, play with it, find a voice that you like with it, just play with it, and then we'll go
Mhm.
from there. So like she left it up to me to find where I liked it.
Mhm.
And then after like my first few takes, then she would step and she'd be like, okay, that was fun. Let's try it like this. Okay, now picture this. Now let's do it like this. Um, and so we probably did like 12 takes for each
Wow.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah. The very first line for the character demo, the very first line, I was like, okay, that was good. Oh, we're doing it again? Okay. All right, that was good. Again?
Okay.
How many
What?
times am I doing this? So that was, but no, she gave very clear direction, and it was a very, very fun experience. I really, really enjoyed it.
Well,
Um,
that's great. Was this your first time being live directed?
I've been live directed before, but it's generally like over a platform like Zoom or Discord
Right.
or Skype. So this is
Yeah.
my first time in person in
In a
a
booth.
studio. Aside from when I was like 13 and recording little radio ads for my dad's local business. Very, very different. They're like, oh yes, it's the boss's daughter. Just let her say a few words and then walk on. Um,
Oh, that's so were you able to take something from this as a learning experience to apply to your voice acting, to your coaching?
I definitely think so. Kind of what we mentioned with the physicality. She brought up the fact that physicality is important because she did comment at one point. I had this very ridiculous kind of commercial spot to read that we were both laughing about.
Mhm.
And I felt ludicrous doing it. I felt absolutely silly, but I like just tried picturing myself, being very bold and very, the lines are ridiculous, but I believe in them wholeheartedly. And I'm standing here on the precipice. And when we were done with that, I was like, well, how was that? She's like, that was great. That was great because you could hear that you were picturing this regardless of the fact that it felt silly. So I definitely think that like for my own voice acting and for my coaching, definitely just reinforcing the fact that physicality and putting yourself in that scene is important, but
Mm-hmm.
also let people play with them before you start directing, because I know with some of my students, I've given them monologues or short little scripts. And, I'm like, okay, here's what you're working on. So here's what I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think that now something I will try to do is I'll give them their monologue and be like, all right, here are the things that you're working on. Here are the things that we've discussed in your session. And I give homework. So for your homework, record this, keeping all of what we learned in mind, and just
Right.
have fun with it.
Right.
And I think that's something that I will have fun doing. Just letting them play with it and hear it
Yeah.
from there.
You're in a booth by yourself. Be wacky, be
Exactly.
fun.
Exactly. And if they have questions, they can reach out. That was the nice thing. There were a few times like I'd read something and then I'd be like, hey, Amber, what should I do for this? Because I'm doing this and it doesn't feel right. And then she would step in. But otherwise, she would kind of let me play with it a little bit. Um, but yeah, you're in a booth. So just have fun with it.
So you mentioned that you did some, you stepped in a booth at 13 to do some like business recording. Is what what was that like? Is that what maybe
Um,
fed you into acting?
I think I'm trying to think. When I did those commercials, my from my hometown, my dad has a local business, and he had purchased some airtime, and my mom is a great writer. And so my mom and I would just sit, and I was like between the ages of like 10 and 14. We would just sit and write like just these fun, silly little commercials, and a lot of times they were comedic.
Right.
And my big thing was I was a community theater kid, I was a performance kid, and my parents were like, well, do you want to record them? Because like you can go up to the station and they don't have a lot of female talent up there. So you can probably go up there and ask them if you want to record it. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
Let's do it.
10-year-old Sarah had no fear. 10-year-old Sarah had like no fear of everything. Those things were learned over time.
Right.
But yeah, so like we would write these really fun commercials and I would just go up there, and I think we have all of them saved on my mom's computer somewhere, so I'd like to find them and probably like post them as just like Sarah's very first works as a voice actor.
Throwback Thursday.
Pardon?
Throwback
Yes,
Thursday.
Throwback Thursday. Oh, that would be so
That'd
good.
be so much fun.
Um,
So you did acting even before that. At
yeah, yeah.
what
So
age were you when you started acting?
I first started doing community theater when I was about probably 9,
Okay.
so like 4th grade ish.
Mm-hmm.
Because I first started taking music lessons when I was 7. I
Mm-hmm.
started taking singing lessons, and then right after that, I was taking singing and piano in tandem. And I had taken dance lessons, and I didn't really like them that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I liked dance, but after a couple years, I didn't like a lot of the people that were in dance.
Right.
So we shifted into community theater because they had like a lot of programs for like after school programs for kids, and
Mm-hmm.
there was this like cute little like elementary age program called the Tadpoles, and we had this wonderful director who I absolutely love, and tragically he's no longer with us, but
Oh,
he was one of those directors who really just instilled a love of acting and fun and just ham it up and be the biggest personality on stage that you possibly can be. So I was very fortunate in the fact that my very first acting coach was somebody who was very good at it and had a passion for it and loved kids. Um, and the fact that my music teacher, I had the same music teacher from the time I was 7 to the time I left for college, um, was very passionate and was one of those figures who demanded excellence, and who also sort of instilled in his students the idea of what is the emotion behind what you are playing or singing, like what is the point of
right.
this, because if one of us did get up on stage at a recital and just sit down and play a little Chopin piece without any emotion, he'd be sitting on the front row just glaring at us. So we would do everything we
Right.
could to avoid his wrath. So I definitely credit a lot of my passion for acting and music to those two gentlemen,
Well,
for sure.
that sounds like a very good push forward
Yes. Uh-huh.
to really just say go at it, be
Uh-huh.
a ham, be silly,
Hmm.
con- convey the character in your being. Um,
Exactly.
and you mentioned you've done music lessons. So you play piano? Do you still play? And
I play piano very, very poorly. I can play well enough to learn new songs. Like whenever I'm singing, I can play my melody line and the chords that are in the accompaniment so that I know, oh hey, they're gonna play an accidental. Don't sing that note. That's for the accompaniment only.
right.
Um, because I'm working on a lot of jazz pieces right now. But I got my degree in opera.
Oh,
Uh-huh. Yeah, so
wow.
I kept up with music for a very long time.
That's awesome. Um, and so you have a degree in opera. You've been playing music, and then you've been doing covers of songs, which they sound beautiful.
Oh, thank
They
you.
they seem like they're well received from others in the community as well.
Oh, I do
Uh,
hope so.
it seems like it. So, what is the process you go through to select a song?
So a lot of times they are songs that either I don't really want to use the term earworm because generally like earworms are like, oh, I can't get it out of my head, but like they just really stick.
Right.
And they're just songs that I really, really want to do. And I really the next one I want to do, and I was actually about to post it on Twitter that like, hey guys, I need a track for this. And then I was like, oh gosh, I'm late for this. I'll post that later.
Right.
But I really, really want to do Journey to the Past
Hmm.
from Anastasia next, just because
Right.
that's a song that like I will just sing at any given moment for fun because I really like the lyrics and I like what the lyrics mean. So I guess to answer your question, my process for choosing the songs that I do covers of, because really the covers I just do those for fun.
Right.
Those are not for. My mom listened to one of my covers the last time I visited her, and she was like, "Oh, well, what's this for?" I was like, "This is purely for me.
Just for
This
me.
is this is a creative outlet. This is not anything I have to submit to a competition or a judge or anything. This is just for fun, just for me."
Right.
Um, uh, so I pick songs that I really enjoy doing that are in some ways a challenge for me,
Mhm.
or they're just songs that have been with me for a really long time that I've always loved.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of my process
That's
of
awesome.
choosing songs.
So, do you write your own music as well?
I um I do write some lyrics. Um, I write more poetry than I do songwriting.
Okay.
I have a very good friend who's a fantastic songwriter, and she can figure out the chords from really easily. She's actually the one I went to New Orleans with. And it all comes very easily to her. Whereas for me, the lyrics and the poetry come a little bit more easily.
Mhm.
I do have a lot of notes on my phone that are just sort of like me, like singing to myself, going, "Oh, I like how this sounds. I like how these words flow. I'll need to remember that for later. I'll be out walking my
Right.
dog, and so I'll
Right.
hit the record button. I'll just start singing stuff. But for the most part, what I write is more poetry or lyrics than actual full on songwriting.
But those lyrics can develop into a song.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have had a couple of poems that I've either handed off to somebody going, "Hey, if you're wanting to write something, like, use these," or, "Hey, I'm interested in turning this into a song, and here's kind of the gist that I want it to do, but other than that, play with it." And I've been really happy with how those have turned out. Uh, fun short story. When we were in New Orleans, the house we were staying at, there was one evening. The house was the two women that lived there were both musicians. They were roommates, and they had a bunch of their musician friends come over,
Mhm.
and it was going to be the theme of the evening was everybody was supposed to play like a murder ballad. So a
Ooh.
song involving murder, or because we're Halloween season, spooky.
Right, right, right.
And so my friend and I had been about town, all this sort of fun stuff, having a grand old time. It was getting later in the evening. We're like, okay, we should start heading back home. We're walking back, and all of a sudden we realize we don't have a murder ballad. We don't have a song. Oh my gosh, we're not ready for this. So she had her guitar with her. And so she pulled it out, and we're walking down the French Quarter with her playing these chords because there'd been this one song she was working on. She's like, well, here, the lyrics aren't set for this song yet, so we can use the chord structure and just write lyrics for something. And so it was really fun because the two of us, like, we came up with a story real quick. We wrote this story about this bad voodoo queen who, comes to a terrible end. And so just like walking down the street, the two of us are like, okay, now if we do it like this, like, oh, but what if we said it like this? Oh, that sounds good. And what if we rhymed it with this? Oh, that sounds great. So it was this great collaborative chaotic moment. And it was the first time I'd ever done not that it was anything serious, but it was the first time I'd kind of done a collaborative songwriting.
Right.
And when we got home, that like we sat down at the corner of our street to practice it real quick to make sure that like we had the melody and the harmonies and all the words. And we got back to our host's house and we played it and everybody really liked it. So that was fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Very fitting for New Orleans.
Exactly. And it was vaguely inspired. We had gone and had like a voodoo reading, and at the end of it, we were like, "That was horrible and a waste of money, and why'd we do that?" So it was also a little bit of revenge.
Right. That sounds like a lot of fun. And you went there you're a bridesmaid at a wedding, right? Was that
I was in a wedding the day before I left. This
okay?
was the trip to New Orleans was uh my friend and I hadn't seen each other in years. Our birthdays are very close together on either side of Halloween. Both of us have always wanted to go visit New Orleans. So we were like, let's do all of it because she was passing through the area. So we met up and stayed there for a week and just explored and had fun.
Wow. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was a ton of fun. It was a ton of fun. And we planned it like back in April because we were like, all right, if we're doing a week, we need to start saving now.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
So is there a project that you're voice acting in that you're very excited and passionate about that's coming up?
We're about to start working on this one project called Whisper Ridge.
Ooh.
And it's got Graham Rowett in it. It's got Dan Zapula in it. Jim O'Moore is the writer for it. And I am really, really excited for it because I don't have the full script yet. I've seen snippets of the script. And it's just going to be a cool story. But I think primarily the reason I'm excited about it is because I love her writing. Y'all should all follow her on Twitter. Her Twitter is lots of little words. But I love her writing. And also just the cast that she's already pulled together. Because I had asked her if I could record a short story of hers for a project that I want to do just for funsies. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. Sure thing. Here's a story. Have at it. And then later on, she reached out to me. She goes, hey, I'm also doing this other project that I'm assembling a cast for. If you're interested, here is who is in the cast right now. And I was going, yes, I would like to be in that. Like this cast looks fantastic. This cast is amazing.
I must audition.
Yes, I'm like, who do I need to audition for? Because if I can be in it, I like most of these people, and if I don't know the other people, I'm probably gonna love them anyway.
Right.
So I'm very excited for that one to start. Just to start working on that one, and then another project that I'm really excited for when it comes out. It's another audio drama project, and we're still kind of trying to solidify the release date. We're aiming for March, for this upcoming March, but that is Copperheart by Rig Stories. And it's a kind of sci-fi and a little bit of suspense, a little bit of mystery type story. And that's really, really exciting. I play an AI in that named Iris. So she's kind of like the computer in a lot of the Star Trek franchise, but with more personality.
Oh.
And she really appreciates it if you say please.
Okay.
Because there are some jerks out there who don't say please, but if you say please, she likes you more. So, and it's very important that she likes you.
Well, where can people go to find out more about you, more about your work?
I do have a Twitter. My Twitter is Sarah Ruth Voice. That is Sarah with an H, everybody. Make a big deal out of that.
Make sure there's an H.
There's an H.
There's an H.
There's a comedian that I really like who has this whole shtick about people who like spell their names differently. And he goes, what a waste of life. Hey, guess what?
I saw that.
Yeah, he's like, Sarah without an H, here's how it sounds. Sarah. And Sarah with an H sounds like this. Sarah. And so like he just goes on and it's great. But with an H. So my Twitter is Sarah Ruth Voice. And I do have a website, sarahruthvoice.com. And on my website, I have just like a brief bio, very brief bio, and my current character demo, and a little compilation of radio spots that I've done because I have continued to work in radio. I work for a company, More Quality Productions, and so I do a bunch of radio spots for them. And then it also has like my resume. And there is the option for me to add a blog to that website, but I have not added anything yet. I may or may not, depending on how I feel about it.
You should.
Okay. It just gives me more time to ramble. Be like, hey,
Exactly.
people, listen to me even more.
Stuff.
Here's stuff is happening or stuff isn't happening. So here's just what I thought.
You know what that's called marketing, because people want to know more about you, and so they're going to read all the stuff that you have to say.
This is, ooh, well put. I'm going to, when I log off of this, dear website, today I had an interview with Christian and it went swimmingly.
Swimmingly.
Post,
Post.
post
That's it.
on the Twitterverse. Everybody go check out my blog.
They're like,
I name dropped in a blog.
that's a sentence.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I can do in my blog. I can take advantage of the fact that it can be more than 140 characters.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, like, so anytime I like want to tweet something, I'm like, oh, I can't do this. I'll go put it on my blog.
And then you just copy and post it.
Exactly.
Read this. I
Here's
have
the
stuff
link.
to say. Read it all.
I have thoughts. I'm a valid human being.
You post a lot of stuff that's very inspirational, has a lot of advice. It's very uplifting seeing some of your posts. I'm like, I must share that. I must share that.
And I'm glad that people shared them and that people like them, because I think the big deal with a lot of my posts that open with dear voice actors or dear creators, because that's generally how I open those posts.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing with those is a lot of times those are thoughts that go through my head with things I should be doing myself.
Right, true.
And my brain can get very naggy very, very fast. And so rather than, let that be naggy and turning into oh, I should have done this. Oh, I should have done this. Oh, why don't you do this? Everybody else does this. I just kind of had the thought one day of like, people probably get in that same cycle and probably have those thoughts of, I should be doing this too. So I write those for myself as much as I write them for everybody else. Because if I'm thinking it, there are probably 100 other people who are thinking it too.
Oh, definitely. And there's things where I think of something and I'm like, nah. And then I just like passes my brain, and then I see like your post. I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, and it's also nice because in our class the other day, Chuck Huber mentioned the fact, he said, we're often very gentle with artists, which is nice, but also we should probably treat artists more like athletes.
Right.
Where, we should maintain sort of that, yes, we have this expectation. No, we're not expecting you to just pummel yourself into the ground, but we don't expect you to just sit there and stagnate and kind of wallow.
Right.
So that's where a lot of those posts kind of come from, because I have those extremes of either, oh, I'm just wallowing in my own self-misery, or no, I need to keep doing this until I'm to the point of exhaustion.
Go! Well,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people also forget that if you're running a voice acting business, it's a business, and you should be doing things that benefit your business, like marketing and not wallowing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what a lot of people forget is, I mean, there are obviously your hobbyists and stuff like that,
Yeah.
so they can do what they want. But I feel that people who are like, I want to make this a business and I want to be a professional. Well, if you want to be a professional voice actor, you need to run your voice acting like a business. And I think a lot of people forget that.
And that's been, I totally agree with you, because that's been a big learning curve for me too. And that's one of the reasons I took the business class with Andy Field, just because I was going, I don't know enough of the business. I need to learn more, because I definitely did have that realization when I went, oh, this business is entirely up to me. There's really not going to be anybody else who's going to be like, well, here, let me take the reins and let me just manage this and manage this and manage this. Like, this is very much all on me right now.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
take responsibility for it and run with it.
And I think a lot of people forget that freelancing in general is, yes, voice acting is a what you're doing, but 65% of it is marketing.
Yeah.
And 20% maybe auditions, 10% of that is something other like accounting and things like that, and 5% is actually working on projects. And I think people need to have the realization that it's not just acting and having fun, even though it is. There's more to it.
Yeah. What was it today? We had a sudden weather change here, so today I was planning to like step into the booth and do all this sort of stuff, and I woke up and I was just all sorts of lovely little snifflies, and I went, oh, that's no good. So I just sort of like took a moment and regrouped, and I went, all right, what are the things I can do for my business today that are just me emailing people? Like, who can I email? What can I just send demos to? What can I send links to? And just sort of socialize that way. And in the meantime, I'll save that audition for tomorrow and that audition for tomorrow and start working on
And
catching up
so
on some
on.
other projects. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good way to do it. That's a if you can't do voice acting, then work on everything else that allows you to do voice acting, like
Yeah.
finding your casting calls, cold calling, cold emailing, things like that.
May I throw out my one other thing I have learned in my brief time as a professional voice actor?
Do it.
Go with your gut. I have learned trust your gut on so many projects. Because there have been some projects that I've looked at and been like, oh well, that looks fun. That looks like fun. That looks like that could be really cool. I don't think I have the time for it. And then like when it does pick up, I'm like, dadgummit, I should have auditioned for it.
Mhm.
And then on the flip side, there have been projects that either I've been invited to audition for or I've just been browsing through an audition site and I start looking at it and I'm like, okay, this looks a little uncomfortable, but this could be really good for like, getting my name out there. And then after a little while I'm going, I don't think I want my name attached to this. So go with your gut because also, I mean, then all of a sudden like people start coming out of the woodwork of like, hey, will you do this project? Hey, will you do this project? Which is very flattering.
Right.
And there is that whole sort of balance of figuring out what is worth my time to do for free. Because
Mhm.
there are some projects that you're like, this is a passion project and I love it and I love who I'm working with and I
It's
don't
gonna
mind
look
doing
good
this
on
for
my
free.
resume.
It's going to look good on my resume, or I will do this because you are my friend and that's great. And then there are others where you're just like, I can't invest that amount of time, or I just really don't want my name attached to that, even if
Right.
we are friends. So I will
Right.
say definitely go with your gut on it because I came really, really close to auditioning for a project that I was like, oh, this could be really good for me. This could be, oh, well, I can audition for it and I probably won't get cast. Well, with that mentality, I'll totally get cast. No, I can't do it.
Right.
So go with your gut.
Go with your gut. That is very important. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. It was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for having me. Thanks for inviting me because this has just been fantastic.
Hey, thanks for listening to Behind the Slate with guest Sarah Ruth Thomas. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell button to stay notified. I look forward to seeing you again.
Little question ninja. I'm gonna look up the name of it real quick. Like blah, 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 blah.
So the bill the
Mhm,
Mhm.
we're voice actors and we can't talk.
I
What?
can't talk.
And both of us have always wanted to be words.